What's up, everybody? I'm just coming to give y'all a little breakdown of this past weekend's fights. Ski Mask Weight Boxing. I'm your host, Miki Blik, and I appreciate y'all coming back to another episode of Ski Mask Weight Boxing. We saw the fight. A lot of people, laughed at my assertions of David Morrell, and a lot of people saying that he was going to get knocked out, he was going to get beat up, and most people said he wouldn't last 5 rounds with David Benavidez. And if you go back and check out my assumptions of what I was talking about with the pre-fight analysis that I gave, y'all would see that I was telling y'all the truth about what had happened between, David Benavidez and David Morrell during the fight. I told people that it would go the distance. I told people that David Morrell was going to give Benavidez more problems than he'd ever had, because I knew with the Cuban style that David Morrell possessed, it was going to give David Benavidez problems, because David Benavidez isn't really he's not a fluent mover. He's more of an aggressive fighter, and he's a come forward fighter. And for somebody who boxes and move around the ring, that's why I was telling folks that how Caleb Plant did really good when he boxed against him, and he showed him that it kind of gave like a little blueprint, because in my eyes, if Caleb could have sustained his attack on, being on his bicycle and moving around and boxing David Benavidez and, in and out, I think Caleb Plant would have won that fight. But like I told y'all, I don't believe that his trainer, Breadman Edwards, was a good trainer. I don't think he instilled confidence in Caleb Plant's abilities, and I just don't think that, to me, because Caleb Plant in my eyes is a really, really, really good fighter. I just think that he needs somebody to push him in his cardio conditioning, because he always seems to gas out in the later rounds like he did against Canelo as well, and he started off good against both of them. But Benavidez, when he fought Caleb, it kind of like gave a blueprint of how to really beat Benavidez, because Benavidez, in my eyes, he's always been a pressure fighter, throwing punches and bunches. He's, at the 168, 160 level, he had more power because he was fighting smaller men, and he's a naturally bigger guy. You can go back and look at him when he was a young man. He was really a slight obese kid, but I give it to him. I mean, he has a lot of discipline. He has a lot of stamina and everything like that. But Morrell hurt him a couple times during the fight, and people saw that. And I was telling folks that Morrell is stronger than what a lot of people think, just because, see, a lot of people don't really understand boxing, so they'll look at somebody's record or the name of a person, and they'll kind of disqualify them from fighting somebody who has a bigger name and more fights. But you got to look at their amateur background, and you got to look at their skill level, and you got to know what you're looking at when you're watching a fighter. And most people don't even know what they're looking at. They just go by what everybody else says. They're more of a fan of the crowd. They don't have their own opinions and things of that nature. So when I say stuff that I say, a lot of people, they disqualify me, and they don't understand that, being in there is one thing, but, being on the outside looking in is another. Most people assess a fighter from, being on the outside of the ring. But when you get in there with somebody, it's a total different game. You saw that with Charlo and Canelo. You remember when Charlo was on the outside, he said he could beat Canelo, but when he got in there, he gave us an egg. So, but overall, I don't think David Morrell did a bad job. To me, he did a good job. I just think that he should have had more urgency in his fighting. David Benavidez, he should have had more urgency to not just give up. Because to me, I'm not going to say he gave up, but he took a lot of rounds off that he should have been throwing a lot of punches, because he just, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was just overwhelming to him because of the crowd and everything, because he never fought on that level. And I just think that Benavidez had more of an experience of being there. You know, it's like under the lights, how Floyd used to always say, you know, most people, you know, they get overwhelmed by the lights. And I don't know if that was the case, you know, because sometimes when you get overwhelmed, your energy is you can tap your energy out quickly, because you're fighting at an antsy pace. You're not relaxed and cool and calm, you know, because when you're fighting, you should always be cool and calm and collected. You know what I mean? You shouldn't always rush or push the issue. You should always pick your shots and do everything. And I think David Benavidez, you know, because of his output, because he fights at a high pace and a high rate. I don't know if Morrell, because he never fought nobody like Benavidez, I don't think he was like expecting that type of rate that David Benavidez gave him. And David was really assaulting him, really good to the body as well. And, you know, it just was a big step up, and it might have been too early, but I'd like to see a rematch, you know, after Morrell, you know, maybe get 5-6 more fights and everything. But I don't know if it'll happen or whatever. But David Benavidez definitely earned his respect in Morrell's eyes, and vice versa. You know what I mean? David Benavidez gave a good gesture by giving him his belt back, you know, which he's going to get another one in the mail anyway. But that was a cool gesture. But I really, if you was to ask me about him moving forward as far as fighting the winner between Bivol and Arthur Beterbiev, I think Arthur Beterbiev would knock David Benavidez out. I think he would knock him out with the style that Benavidez has. See, the reason why Arthur Beterbiev, to me, he lost against Bivol the first time they fought is because Bivol is that fighter. And I believe that Bivol could beat Benavidez as well. Because if you look at Bivol's stamina, like when he fought Canelo, he was that in and out fighter, and he had, you know, a high output as far as his punches was concerned, and he just had that stamina, you know, and Canelo wasn't used to Canelo was used to people standing in front of him, if you ask me, you know, and, you know, people leaning on the ropes, and Bivol didn't give him that, you know what I'm saying? Bivol didn't give him that. That's why I believe that David Benavidez, with his style, it will be, I'm not gonna say perfect for Canelo, but I think that he wouldn't do, like, I think Canelo is weary about fighting Benavidez because Benavidez is so big, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I think Canelo should challenge himself, because I think he'll do better than what people expect. Because Canelo he's a slick fighter. He's a slick Mexican fighter, man. And a lot of people don't give him credit because, you know, he's up in age now. He's fought a lot of people. He's been through a lot of wars, especially with Golovkin. And Benavidez hasn't been in a whole lot of wars. And this was a war, if you ask me, him and Morrell. And, you know, if anybody knows anything about fighting, when you go through wars, it takes a lot out of you. You know what I mean? It kind of like changes your mindset going into another fight, sort of like how everybody saw when Madonna fought Broner. When Broner was in that war with Madonna, Broner was never the same because, you know, everybody called him gun shy and all of that. It's because when you're in a war with somebody as a fighter, you know, you tend to take less chances after the fight because it's almost like it takes something out of you. It's a diminishing effect to your mindset because of being hit so many times, and not only that, being in there with a hard puncher. You know what I'm saying? So it's different to the untrained eye. You know what I'm saying? Which they want wars. You know, you want to get your money's worth. You don't want no Shakur Stevens type fight. You know what I'm saying? You don't want nobody running around Forrest Gumping it, you know, because to me, that's what Shakur offer you, a Forrest Gump win. You know what I'm saying? run the whole time. He won't engage. But like I said before, I believe that this fight with Kid Austin, he's going to try to fight him, and I think that he's going to get caught. But I don't know if Kid Austin going to beat him, but I hope he do. I'm rooting for Austin like a mug because I like the fact that Kid Austin is humble. You know what I'm saying? He's respectable. You know, I think Shakur is a big liar. For one, you know, him getting out of that contract with Top Rank and then lying about Steven Espinosa offering him that one fight deal against Tank, which I believe was true. And Shakur denied that because he wanted that fight. He wanted to go to Eddie Hearn and get into that rest haven for hoes. Because to me, Shakur is he's a fake. He's a fake dude, man. He's not what people think he is, and I'm not sure if he'll ever fight Tank, but he'll always use Tank's name to clout chase. And because, you know, every time he get a fight with somebody, he always talk about Tank. But when he doesn't have a fight, you don't hear a peep about him fighting Tank. But I just believe Tank can knock him out. But I believe it'll be a boring fight like it was with I think Shakur stayed away from Tank the whole time like he did against De Los Santos. It wasn't really a fight, and it wasn't, you know, it was horrible. It was horrible. And then Shakur lied and talked about he was hurt and had a hurt shoulder or something. He was like, man, he just, I don't like him, man. I don't like Shakur. I used to like him because I thought that he was, you know, about what he was saying. But once I saw him leave Top Rank and kind of do like the same thing that Terrence Crawford did before he was fighting Errol Spence, because everybody used to say Terrence Crawford was scared to fight Errol Spence, and then when he left Top Rank, he tried to get that match going with Errol Spence, but it wasn't enough money, so he went and fought David Avanesian. His stock went up after he knocked Avanesian out, and Terrence went back to the drawing board with him and started to he went and told him that what's she doing? Get dog away from my car. People let the dog do what it do. The dog is controlling the people. These folks are crazy. But anyway, getting back to Terrence, he kind of like he made it happen when he went and got what he wanted from Errol Spence, and then he went and did the job. He knocked Earl out. So, you know, salute to him. But he showed the blueprint of how it's supposed to be done. When people say you scared of this, because everybody was saying Terrence was scared of Errol Spence because of what Earl was doing with folks, but Earl had a lot of situations and problems and 2 accidents and different types of things that kind of messed his career up and messed his physicality, I think, to me. But that's not an excuse. I mean, Terrence went out there, Earl took the fight, and he went out there and he didn't look himself, but Terrence did what he had to do. So Shakur had that same opportunity, is what I'm saying, and he lied to folks, and he denied it, and he didn't do it. He didn't take it, and he's not what people think he is. And then once he signed with Matchroom, Eddie Hearn came out and said that we're gonna do a 3-fight deal, Shakur, and Gervonta Davis is not a part of it. So, you know, that like right there lets you know that Matchroom is a rest haven for hoes. Like, remember in the Mac? You're a card thief. Remember Pretty Tony? You're a rest haven for hoes. And that's how Eddie Hearn is, you know what I'm saying? And just like the same thing with Boots. Boots talked all that stuff. I love Boots, don't get me wrong, but he talked a lot of stuff, mess with about Virgil Ortiz and how nobody want to fight him. But then Virgil moved up because he had all of them health scares at 147 because he was, you know, weight trained and things of that nature. He had seizures and all types of stuff. So he moved up to 54, and then he, you know, make Boots an offer, and Boots talking about he don't want to fight him. So it's, you know, it's like, you know, you gotta take people at face value of what they talk about. Because if you keep telling me that you will fight anybody and this and that, see, I'm the fighter's fighter. Like I believe in like people like James Toney, Roy Jones Jr., Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, I'm a fighter's fighter. Those guys never duck nobody. They just, I don't care if you got a belt, especially Roy Jones. Roy Jones was one of the fighters, like, he didn't care if you had a belt or not. If you called his name out, let's get it popping. You understand? I'm talking about when he was a middleweight, especially when he was a middleweight. When he moved up to the higher classes, he was just challenging in himself. And I believe a lot of those knockouts and everything, Roy wasn't fit to be in there with the likes of them guys. Even though they didn't have the name Roy had, but I would just believe Roy was just challenging himself, and Roy just didn't care. He was a boxer's boxer. And I love Roy Jones, and I'll always love Roy Jones because I know, that ID's with true fighters. You know what I'm saying? And if you hate on Roy in any type of way and talk bad about him getting knocked out, you don't understand boxing. But he challenged himself, and he moved up, and he was great. You know what I'm saying? So, but Shakur, on the other hand, he's not what people think he is. And then if you look at his resume, when you really take a fine-tooth comb at his resume, he didn't fight nobody. He didn't fight nobody. He hasn't fought anybody. Even with the De Los Santos, the only way people knew about him is because he knocked out Rayo. That's the only way. And Rayo was an up-and-coming prospect at the time. You know what I'm saying? And De Los Santos, nobody ever heard of him until he defeated Rayo, because Rayo had a big following. He was over at the Garcia camp. So he had a big following, and a lot of people was following Rayo. And then you got this little Dominican or Cuban, whatever, De Los Santos. I think he's Dominican, right? And he rolled jelly. He knocked Rayo out. So that's when it catapulted his name. And then when he was fighting Shakur knew he was scared. To me, Shakur was scared. He gave him too much respect. And, he didn't engage. He didn't engage with De Los Santos because Shakur is scared to get into a battle. He's scared to get into a fight. No matter what people say, me coming from a boxer standpoint, I understand that they say, Shakur's a defensive fighter, but he's more of a runner in my eyes. He's more of a Forrest Gump. He a Forrest Gump, if you ask me. So I just think that if you're gonna be a part of boxing and talk the way you talk, because he talks like he's a young pretty boy Floyd, because in my eyes, pretty boy Floyd ain't ducked nobody. I'm talking about not Money Mayweather, because he fought everybody. Now he got the opportunity to choose his fights, but when he was pretty boy, when Floyd Mayweather was pretty boy, man, can't no fighter, man, that boy was unreal. He was really unreal. And he was at a weight class, and he was like a mini Mike Tyson. People don't give Floyd credit because they most of this generation is young. They see Money Mayweather. They see the Floyd that cares about. When he was pretty boy, man, that was my